So in the previous two mantras, Paranchikhani Betunat Swayambhoho Tasmat Param Pashyati Nantaratman Kaschid Dhiraha Pratyek Atmanam Aikshata Abruta Chakshuhu Amrutatvam Ichha and Paracha Kamanu Yanti Balaha Te Mrutyu Yanti Vitatasya Pasham Atha Dhira Amrutatvam Viditva Dhrubam Adhruveshu Iha Na Parthayante. So these two verses highlighted one of the most important sadhana, that how to avoid the avoidance of extrovertness. So that was being highlighted in the last two verses very carefully. Now when you look at verse number 3, now the Upanishads, this is the central theme of Upanishad, this Upanishad here. So now here Atmajnanam is the main topic. So when Atmajnanam is main topic, so we have to really understand a few points in this verse number 3 itself, which we will be talking. It actually communicates few points. Here the methodology of teaching is very nice, which has been highlighted. We also need to really be a little bit careful while understanding the concept, how it talks about it. Let us say, first of all, if we observe the very nicely, here we called as Druk Dushya Viveka. The methodology of teaching here, this verse is Druk Drushya Viveka, because I am trying my best to introduce the methodology of teaching whatever is there. Okay, Druk Drushya Viveka. That means Druk means that who is seer, because of whose presence the thing is seen. The seer is called Druk. Drushya means that which is seen. So here is being highlighted in this verse, this methodology of teaching. Whatever is seen cannot be Druk, cannot be the seer. So there is a difference between seer and seen. So that is being highlighted in this. So when we look at this Druk Dushya Vivekaha, so we have to understand a few principles here. The first point we have to understand, the Druk here is the consciousness, the Chaitanyam. Now we have to understand here, the Druk or the consciousness is not a part or product or property of body-mind complex, number one. Because we have to derive at many points in this verse, okay? Because if I look at this just a translation, you don't understand anything. So that's why I am trying my best to go a little bit differently. So the first point is the Chaitanyam, the Druk here. So the consciousness is not a part, product or property of this body-mind complex. Number one. Number two also, same thing, the Druk, the consciousness is an independent principle. So being independent principle which pervades the entire body-mind complex, and because of whose presence the body-mind complex is alive. Number two, consciousness, the Druk here, is an independent principle which pervades body-mind complex, and because of which the body-mind complex is alive. And the third, if we look at this Druk or Chaitanyam, is not limited by the boundaries of the body-mind complex. The Chaitanyam, the consciousness, is not limited by the boundaries of the body-mind complex. Again, another one. The consciousness continues to exist even after the disintegration of the body-mind complex. So we have to arrive at these 5 points, okay, from this verse, because we have to really understand a lot. It's not because now the central theme of the teaching starts. Because now the question here is, if the consciousness continues or the Chaitanyam continues to exist even after the disintegration of the body-mind complex, now why we are not able to understand? So where is lacking? It should be available. The point is here, what happens? Remember that it continues to exist, but because the most important thing is there is no medium for it to manifest itself, because there is no medium for it to manifest itself. That's why this consciousness is not accessible. So not accessible and does not exist, there is a big difference. You understand? It is like electricity. The current continues because the bulb is fused. Because there is no medium for it to manifest. You understand? There is no medium, the current has no medium to manifest. And it cannot manifest by itself either. So because there is no bulb or there is no any other mechanical, let us say, instrument, so you don't say that there is no electricity. There is no current. Electricity continues. But only thing is medium is not there. So that's why we come to a conclusion as though there is no. But only when we touch we come to know, but it's too late. So okay. So here we also need to really understand very carefully that when you look at this body-mind complex, the body-mind complex, they are called object of experience. That also we have to very druk drushya viveka, okay? And because they are made up of, please understand, not only they are object of experience, also they are made up of Panchabhutas, 5 elements. And because they are made up of 5 elements, because all are because, okay? Because they are made up of 5 elements, then what happens? They have gunas, attributes. What are the attributes? 5 attributes. Sabda, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Because remember, each element has its own attributes that we have discussed in details, okay? Akasa has its own attribute. What is that Akasa's attribute? Shabda, sound, please remember, okay? So water has got its own attribute. What is that attribute of water? Rasa, the taste, okay? Agni has its own attribute. What is that attribute? Rupa, form. Please refresh, okay? Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, that 5 attributes are related to 5 elements. So that's we saw. Because this Dehadi Prapancha or this Drushya Prapancha, means the Prapancha means the creation that is visible, okay? They are object of, first point is they are object of experience. Second point is they are made up of 5 elements. Third point, because they are made up of 5 elements, definitely they have also, they are endowed with 5 attributes, such as sound, smell, taste, all these things. Now, because they have attributes, again the fourth point, because they have attributes. So therefore what happens? They are subject to continuous modification. And interestingly, this is what this verse will highlight, which will also supply one more. Interestingly, this Drushya Prapancha is available or appear together in waking state and in dream state. But this verse doesn't talk about deep sleep. We will be providing that later on as the verse comes. So now here, of course, Adi Shankaracharya will be arguing a lot. One particular argument comes here. I can bring this argument before going to the verse. The verse will say, okay, let us look at the verse so that it becomes easier to look at how Adi Shankaracharya argues. Very nice argument, which is very interesting to understand. So, Ena Rupam, this is the verse. Ena Rupam Rasam Gandham Shabdan Sparshan Scha Maithunan Eteneva Vijanati Kimatra Parishishyate Etat Vaitat. So, Etena Eva, I am now going to Anvaya. Ena Etena Eva Rupam Rasam Gandham Shabdan Sparshan Maithunancha Sarvam, you can add it, Bijanati Etat Vai Tat Bhavati Atra Kim Parishishyate. Once more. Etena Eva Rupam Rasam Gandham Shabdan Sparshan Maithunan Cha Sarvam Bijanati Etat Vaitat Bhavati. But Bhavati I have taken extra word to add it so that it is easier to understand. Atra Kim Parishishyate. So when we look at, so now we need to see, the point is that Yena Yetena Eva, by this Atma alone, then what happens? Because of that, Bijanati, one knows. What are the things one knows? Rupam, the color. Rasam, the taste. Gandham, the smell. Shabdan, the sounds. Sparshan, touch. Cha, and Maithunan, and the conjugal pleasures, means we will talk, because the pleasure whatever comes because of related to the sense objects. So that is what is being highlighted. So conjugal pleasures. Then he says, if this is the case, now tell me, Kim Parishishyate Atra, means what else remains here to be known by the Atma? Means there is nothing remains. And says, Etat Vaitat, this is indeed that. Means whatever you asked long back. Okay? You had asked long back. Oh Nachiketas, I forgot. I hope you forgot Nachiketas, okay? Somewhere he has gone away from your mind. Oh Nachiketas, whatever you asked, Etat Vaitat, this is indeed that you asked for. That's why I told you, this is the central theme of Upanishad, okay? So that you asked for the teaching, this is the teaching now. Now when we look at, as we discussed, these are the points very carefully before going to the verse, that consciousness is not a part because of whose presence, please understand, because of whose presence Drushya Jagata is visible. So being not part, product or property of this body-mind complex, I hope I am just repeating you so that it becomes easier. The essence of the verse you understand, okay? And secondly, consciousness is not an independent principle. It is an independent principle, not a dependent principle at all. being independent principle which pervades the entire body-mind complex. Now, here very nicely Adi Shankaracharya himself raises a small question, which is very nice. He says, Nanu. Nanu means question, of course. Doubt, I have a doubt. Naiba prasidhi lokasya atmana dehadi vilakshana aham bijanami iti. Dehadi sanghata aham bijanami iti tu sarvah loka avagachyati. In answer, of course, natu evam. So here Adi Shankaracharya highlights, look, it is not well known in the world that I have an Atma. Okay? It is not well known in the world that I have an Atma. This is a question, okay? Means Atma means here a conscious principle different from body-mind complex. It is not well known. He himself raised this question, okay? And because of that Atma only, I am experiencing. Now people do not know, but I know very well, people know that I am a sentient being. And this individual consists of this body-mind complex, Deha Adi Sanghata Ahamiti. So consisting of this body-mind complex. And people think what? Being a sentient means what? That there is nothing to depend upon, there is nothing to lend to which lends the sentient to this body-mind complex. So body-mind complex is sentient. So why are you bringing Atma behind it? The consciousness principle behind it. So when this is the question is being raised, so how can there can be Upanishad define that Atma in this manner, that Atma because of whose presence the Rupam, Rasam, Gandham all sort of is being experienced. But we understand, we experience, we don't see that Atma is different and I have Atma. I don't know, anybody knows? Does anybody know? So when this question comes, Adi Shankaracharya replies very nicely as usual. Yes, nanu tu evam. Okay, fantastic. Whatever you are saying, it's not like that, please. When you say that all the people consider that body-mind complex as the knower, it's not correct. Maybe you may not be knowing, or some of your people may not be knowing, but don't come to a conclusion, all do not know. Like, we have a very nicely, all these journalists, they do this. This is, this is called, I call it, pseudo thinker. They will say very nicely, when they write any editorial or anything else, people demand. Who are the people? Hey, you stupid, you have got your invested interest, so you put here. Why can't you say? So people, not because you are stupid, you cannot say people. Like nation wants to know that, there is a popular show we have in India, okay? Now it is a mockery show. A small child onwards, everybody does this mockery show of that fellow. Nation wants to know, hey, who is a nation? Are you a nation? So because you do not know, that's coming to, this is opposite way, okay? That is different, this is different. Because you do not know, because you think that body, mind, complex, because of whose only Atma, there is no difference, Atma is not there, or you have an Atma. But don't come to the conclusion because you do not know that nobody knows. Number one. Number two, okay, I assume. Whatever you say, okay, I assume, I go along with you. Now the point is, very carefully, I also like to say, if you say that you know, you are as a knower, not because of Atma, because the body-mind complex, this Deha Sanghata, together. So because Deha Indriya, Deha the Sanghata, not Indriya, Deha the Sanghata. Because of this reason, Deha Indriya, Sangat Adi means here Indriya. Because of the complex of body, let us say body-mind complex. Now question may arise here. I also would like to say That means whatever is made up of Panchabhutas, because Dehadi Sanghata, what you see this body mind complex is made up of what? 5 elements. Now whatever you see that are made up of 5 elements, do they know themselves? Do they know each other? Do they talk to each other like, one wall? Because wall also is made up of 5 elements. Does the wall know the wall? Is the wall able to talk another wall? You understand? Do they communicate with each other? So he brings about the statues, okay? Do the statue talk to each other? Do the statue know each other? Because after all, they are also made up of 5 elements. So because something is made up of 5 elements, that does not mean that they are sentient. Can you see this point? Behind that, the Atma principle has to be there. Like the example gives, like Dagdha Lahobat. So when an iron ball, ordinary iron ball is just iron ball. It does not burn anything. But when there is fire, because of association with the fire, now that iron ball has got the property of fire. In fact, you do not call, even though you call iron ball, you say fireball is moving. You understand? In fact, it does all the job of fire. So because of the presence, iron does not burn anything. Because in iron there is a fire. Because of the fire, now iron starts burning everything. Can you see this point? So it is the consciousness principle which makes this body as sentient. But by itself, body is insentient. Body doesn't have anything. So that means because of whose presence, this body does everything. Body moves. Or you can say body is body. That is me. That is Atma. That is the consciousness. In fact, you asked me long back, this is what you know this here. Okay, that's beautiful point to understand. Now if this is the case, now let us look at the next verse, what it talks. Next verse also interestingly, if we observe the next verse, in this next verse, as I told you, the first one is Druk Drushya Vivekaha, the methodology of the seer and seen, the analysis was being done. So here we have Avasthatraya Vivekaha. It's another terminology, okay? Avasthatraya Vivekaha, through the analysis of 3 states. Because it has to explain in different methodology of teaching, takes the help of a different type of methodology of teaching. So first one is Druk Drushya Vivekaha, analysis through the analysis of seer and seen. Here, through the analysis of the 3 states. So even though, as I told you, the verse itself will explain only waking and dream, but deep sleep will supply, don't worry. Now here also we have to understand the Atma being consciousness principle, because of that reason what happens, being okay Atma witnesses everything, but it cannot be witnessed by anything. any other thing becomes inert. The inert cannot witness anything that is sentient. So that means we have to see very carefully. So this being the consciousness principle, and it witnesses but it cannot be witnessed. That's why Atma, the witness, is different from the three stages of experiences. That we have to very clearly understand. Atma, being the witness, different from the three stages of experience. Because we know the witness is always different from the witnessed object. And this is what called avasthatraya vivekaha. And remember, when we say that the witness is always different from the witnessed object, the body also falls under this category. The physical body is being witnessed in waking state. The Sukshma Sharira is being witnessed in waking state. Whereas the Sukshma Stula Sarira is being witnessed in waking state. Whereas the Sukshma Sarira, subtle body, is being witnessed in dream state. So that means again it implies that both Stula Sarira and Sukshma Sarira is not me. And Karana Sarira, when we talk about that also later on, we'll see. Because in deep sleep, both the bodies are not available. That also time and space comes under this category. The space that is in waking state, the time that is in waking state, not available in dream. The dream time and space not available in waking. Can you see this point? How they are limiting each other. So that's why here also time and space, along with this avasthatraya viveka, time and space also is being included. And interestingly, in deep sleep, there is no time, there is no space. And of course, there is no body. But at the same time, you come up, look, I slept well. I didn't have any experience. I didn't have time knowledge. Oh, already so late. Seeing the watch, okay, especially. And poor alarm will ring and you will hit again and again. You understand? And sometimes you end up in some other space. You understand? You will sleep on the bed and you will fall down on the cot, okay, on the ground, okay. Some other space, okay. However, so with this, let us now read the verse, okay. Swapnantam jagaritantam chobhau yenanu pashyate mahantam vibhumatmanam matva dhiro na sochati. Swapnantam jagaritantam chobhau yenanu pashyati mahantam vibhumatmanam matva dhiro na sochati. Actually, the first verse is only the subject. Second one is more karma phalam. The second line is more karma phalam. Sorry, more is stuti, or sorry, not stuti, phalam of the jnana phalam, let us say. Let us read this very nicely. What he says is, okay, first let us look at Anvaya. Anya will be yena सर्वः सुप्तान्तं जागरितान्तं च उभौ अनुपश्यति. Is word अनुपश्यति is very important here, okay? च उभौ अनुपश्यति तम महान्तं विभुम आत्मानं मत्वा धीरः न शोचति. येन सर्वः स्वप्नान्तं जागरितान्तं च उभौ अनुपश्यति तम महान्तं विभुम आत्मानं मत्वा धीरः न शोचति. So good. Says beautifully, yena sarvah, by this atma alone, everything. And what is that sarvah? Everything, what is it? So here he says beautifully, anupashyati. Generally, pashyati means sees, perceives. But here Shastra, the Shruti herself brings the word anupashyati, unnecessarily brings another prefix called anu. So here beautifully, anupashyati comes means it is not merely sees. Here pramana, Shastra as a pramana. So you start seeing based on the knowledge that you have. So the knowledge is here the pramana as Shastra as means of knowledge. It's a beautiful way of looking at this. That's why the word anu comes here. And in this regard, Pujya Swami really gives very nicely. In fact, I remember when he was talking this anupashyati word, he went little nicely, elaborately he spoke. So this anupashyati sees, it is not with your intelligence. You are supposed to see with the intelligence of the Shastra. So that means pramana, because the understanding of this Mahantam Vibhum that we'll see, you will start seeing this understanding or perceiving yourself, not as you think or based on your intelligence, but with the help of the pramana, with the help of the means of knowledge called Shastra. So that's why to give due respect to the Shastra, anupashyati is being highlighted. However, here it says, and what happens? What says? Ubho, both. And what are they? Shopnantam and cha jagaritantam, the objects of dream and the objects of waking. Then what happens? Having known Matva, Mahantam Vibhum, the great all-pervading principle because of which all these things are visible, that we have discussed in details before the text. And what is that? That is called Atma. Dhiraha, the discriminative one, na sochati, do not grieve. Here, very carefully, also we need to understand very nicely. Unless you are psychologically disturbed, unless you are a child, both way, unless you are a child or psychologically disturbed, you will not break your head with reference to your dream. That is very clear and careful. The dream analysis becomes powerful, sometimes meaningful, to give solace to this disturbed mind. That when the person is disturbed, a child will cry that I had, or my devil brother had broken my toy. When? In dream. You understand? And if that toy is not available, forget. And even if toy is available, no, can you see the crack? He made, broke and fixed it. Can't you see this? Because the child is stuck. So now just observe, if you are little bit mentally healthy, emotionally matured, with reference to your dream, the experience, the object that you have seen or not seen, with reference to your dream, will you bother? Will you break your head? After all, it is a dream. Once you wake up, dream has no value for you. So with reference to dream world, you don't grieve unless you are a child or psychologically disturbed. Remember, if you are little bit or emotionally little healthy, little better, definitely you will never grieve. So also hear the knowledge. As a common person does not grieve with reference to the experience that he or she had with reference to the dream. Now, same thing also. Once knowledge, you know that you are witness, because of whose presence all the witnessing, the process of witnessing happening. And while witnessing, be a witness. That's the most important thing. While witnessing, be a witness. But the problem is what happens while you are experiencing. Of course, you are an experiencer so strong, you want the experiencing must happen as the experiencer wants. You understand? You go 2 steps ahead. So here you need to see, neither you are experiencing nor there are object of experiences, but at the same time the process of experiencing